From my experience, people often perceive those who live alone as outliers, individuals who may not integrate well with the community for various reasons. They are often seen as possessing traits or qualities that do not align with societal standards. In reality, there are cases where this is true. Many individuals who spend a significant amount of time alone struggle to connect with others. In some cases, these individuals may harbor a hostile attitude towards the world around them, possibly due to negative experiences with their peers. The pack often fears the so-called lone wolf, as this individual harbors many mysteries and few know what they intend to do. In many cases, living alone can be viewed as negative. However, not all our happiness and fulfillment necessarily come from spending time with others. While this may be true in some cases, it's also not uncommon for others to be a significant source of suffering. If someone consistently experiences hurt and pain from their relationships with others, could they start prioritizing loneliness over continuing to be with others? This video explores the essence of loneliness, what philosophers say about it, and why some people choose to live alone instead of longing for a relationship. Imagine waking up alone. You step out of bed, walk into the kitchen, and open the fridge. Everything around you is yours alone. This is also true for the rest of your living space. You have arranged everything according to your own preferences without having to compromise. In your space, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, without worrying about others' opinions. You can pursue your hobbies, adhere to your own schedule without being influenced by others' preferences. You are the absolute controller of your living space, and you cherish this unique and irreplaceable freedom behind closed doors. Loneliness feels sweet. It's the joy of not having to endure the interference of others. They can enrich our lives in many ways, but at the same time, they can also be a significant source of pain. Face that reality. In many situations, it's not the work environment itself that makes the job toxic, it's the people within it. It's not the school itself that causes unhappiness for some children, it's the incompetent teachers and bullies. We humans have the ability to cause pain to each other, but at the same time, we also have the ability to bring joy, comfort, and happiness to each other. So, every time we interact with each other, we're going through a push and pull process. Delving into relationships, we'll have to face the darker sides of our fellow beings. But at the same time, if we reduce our communication, we'll also have less to deal with the harm and stress from those who are intrusive, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and resentful, as Marcus Aurelius described the unpleasant individuals he often encountered. It's no wonder that the wise philosopher recorded in the Zhuangzi rejected the opportunity to become a king and chose a solitary life in a hut near the river, where he fished and found peace. Being alone truly is wonderful, and when the joy of solitude draws us in, it can become an addictive habit. In the quiet solitude of loneliness, we find peace, freedom, and a space untouched by the judgments of others. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free, as Arthur Schopenhauer wrote. In solitude, we are not bound by societal norms or by the needs and desires of others. No one standing around demands that we think or act in a certain way, and there is no one we need to compromise with. In solitude, we have the freedom to express ourselves without being constrained by political correctness and engage in the quirkiest hobbies without concern for others' judgments. It's wonderful to enjoy this freedom, along with our inner peace, and all the privileges of existing off the stage lights, instead of constantly facing the spotlight and scrutiny of others. In some religious traditions, spending time alone is considered an essential part of enlightenment and spiritual progress, such as in Buddhism. Indeed, the Buddha encouraged people to distance themselves from social life and regarded solitude as the foundation of spiritual enlightenment. Many philosophers have also recognized the value of solitude. Jean-Jacques Rousseau is one of them, who acknowledged his enjoyment of solitude because it helped him to avoid human hostility while appreciating the beauty of nature. Henry David Thoreau, a writer and philosopher, wrote profoundly about his solitary life in the woods. Meanwhile, the Teaching of the Seven-Tusked Elephant, a Buddhist text, narrates the journey of a lone elephant, shedding light on the spiritual value of solitude. This text employs the imagery of the elephant, a solitary animal, to reflect the profound significance of experiencing solitude in the spiritual journey. With persuasive power, the Teaching of the Seven-Tusked Elephant encourages readers to wander alone, like an elephant, liberating oneself from the constraints of life. In doing so, we can escape the busyness of society to find a clearer perspective on ourselves and spiritual maturity. This ancient text asserts that distancing oneself from social pressures is beneficial for the human soul, as companionship often comes with societal pressures and expectations, which can make us feel confined and restricted. Furthermore, the temporary pleasures derived from worldly desires, though seemingly enticing, ultimately lead to much suffering. Excessive social engagement can leave us exhausted, and the pleasure from sensual desires often accompanies relentless greed. Moreover, the overload of social relationships often hinders us from delving into deeper understanding and reaping genuine spiritual benefits, such as meditation, self-reflection, and philosophical contemplation in Buddhism. In this context, the imagery of the rhinoceros symbolizes strength, resilience, and independence, capable of enduring life's hardships with calmness and detachment. The scripture teaches, abandon passions, grudges, and obsessions, break free from chains, in the end, be unperturbed, walk alone like a rhinoceros. Solitude and isolation often go hand in hand, creating a state of independence and freedom. In moments of solitude, we can step away from the noisy canvas of the world and escape the burden of conforming pressures. Why must we adhere to things we don't truly understand? Why do these rules and traditions become second nature to us? From a distant perspective, like an observer of humanity, we can recognize how the game of life is played out, and when we're part of it, that becomes clearer than ever. Taoist philosophers often choose solitude as a means to return to a state of purity and the boundless space of the Tao, leaving behind society and its constraints. Living alone helps them distance themselves from external influences and seek liberation. But it's not just Taoism. American philosopher Henry David Thoreau also embraced separation from society when he lived alone at Walden Pond, an experiment he detailed in his work Walden. He discovered the warm joy of intimacy with nature, along with the simplicity and independence that comes with spending time alone. Think about it. Often, we are distracted by those around us. Friends, family, and colleagues all demand our attention every day. Even when we're not directly interacting with them, they still exist in our phones. The noise of this bustling life often prevents us from connecting with our roots, the Great Mother, an underlying force constantly and tirelessly at work, nurturing everything. Concerns about escaping loneliness can also be applied to Nietzsche's philosophy. For him, spending time alone is not just about spiritual enlightenment or intimacy with nature. He viewed loneliness as a tool for self-liberation from the constraints of a society polluted by moral regulations he termed slavery. It was a value system that robbed individuals of their freedom and turned them into compliant sheep, obedient to their shepherds without contradiction. Nietzsche also criticized the shepherds and the moral masters, because they were part of the same authoritarian system and blind obedience. Therefore, according to Nietzsche's perspective, loneliness provides us with a means to transcend this system, allowing us to create new personal values beyond the conventional framework. In summary, loneliness helps us understand ourselves, appreciate our individuality, and contemplate how we want to live authentically, in our own unique way. Thus, whether it's pursuing spiritual enlightenment, a deeper connection with nature, breaking free from traditional values and conventional ideas, or creating a fertile ground for personal meaning, loneliness is our companion. Therefore, it's not surprising that many people crave it. Better to be alone than wish you were. So, one might ask, do I desire solitude? As someone engaged in social life, do I long to be alone for extended periods for any reason? From my experience, I have found that social interaction always entails exchange. You give a part of yourself, you receive a part in return. But sometimes, you may not want to sacrifice what you've given or receive what you've taken. In that case, social interaction becomes a burden, demanding more from us than we receive in return. An intimate relationship may offer many benefits and opportunities for personal growth, but it also takes away the freedom of solitary life, the solitude and peace that come with having no one else to care for. A rich social life can indeed bring countless experiences of happiness, but it also means we spend less time on profound activities like meditation and spiritual development, as described in the Tsart Sutra. Engaging in a community or belief system can provide us with solidarity, meaning, and a sense of belonging to a larger community. Although social interaction can bring many benefits, it also often entails losing authenticity and individuality, qualities revered by philosophers like Emerson and Nietzsche. Engaging in society can create wonderful experiences in many aspects. However, this often damages our relationship with nature, something sought after by Taoist philosophers and philosopher Henry David Thoreau. In conclusion, social interaction has its own value, and sometimes, the price to pay for it is too high. Indeed, loneliness also comes with a price, especially when it becomes too burdensome and unwanted. For each individual, prolonged separation from others can have negative consequences. Loneliness and isolation are increasingly becoming a growing concern. Some crave social interaction but struggle to attain it. So perhaps it is truly better to be alone than to live in loneliness, but it's also better than being lonely to yearn for solitude. Finding a balance is indeed possible, and as you mentioned, it's not a fixed state but rather something that evolves based on our individual selves, life circumstances, and needs at any given time. To achieve this balance, daily self-reflection and questioning like, what do I want and need right now, are essential. It's not about absolutes. My desire for solitude and social interaction often fluctuates, and the same applies to my needs. Absolutely. Continuous self-discovery is key to maintaining that balance between solitude and social interaction. Living authentically with oneself strengthens one's relationship with both solitude and others. While loneliness isn't enjoyable, neither is always being around people or always wanting to be alone necessarily the best choice. Adapting to one's circumstances requires courage. Exactly. Acknowledging one's circumstances and dissatisfaction requires courage to step out of one's comfort zone. When desiring solitude, you also need the bravery to recognize this need and temporarily depart from your social life, or even acknowledge that those around you may be causing more harm than benefit. In cases of abuse particularly, deciding to be alone, or at least separate from the abuser, can indeed be the wisest choice. However, the crucial question is whether you are willing and able to leave. Unfortunately, many fear loneliness. But if basic needs like food, shelter, and safety are met, what is there to fear? If you learn to find comfort and contentment in solitude, you become less dependent on others, and they have less power over you. This also makes it easier for you to confront and remove abusive, arrogant, and toxic individuals from your life. Better to be alone than wish otherwise, for in loneliness, we discover the strength we thought we needed from others. Thanks for watching.